Oh, recording has started. A little unscripted morning for you this morning. Good morning. How many times can I say morning? Morning, morning, morning. Oh, I have a few minutes before I have to go tend to the poultry. Uh, it's almost 7:30. You'll probably hear the chime on the clock. Well, it it's out of whack again. I love my clock. I love it. I love it. I love it. But it gets out of time. I mean, it either gets fast or gets slow. I don't know what's wrong with it, but you'll hear it here in a few minutes probably, chiming in. But it should just be one because it'll be at the half hour on the clock, although it's like 10 minutes behind. Anyway, it's December the 30th, Friday, December the 30th, and I just kind of wanted to stop in for a few minutes, a little unscripted time here to wish you a happy new year. I know there'll be a lot of people doing that. I know every just about every channel that I've watched has said something about, oh, it's the end of the year and it's the last Friday of the year. There'll never be another Friday in 2023. And um, I've got some noise somewhere. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Oh, I know what it is. It's the pressure cooker. Sorry. It should stop here in a second. It's the last Friday of 2023. There'll never be another one. And, oh, uh, what have you thought of the past year? And what are your plans for the new year? And all that's fun and good. And it's good to pick dates and set goals and targets. And um, there's the guy, Two Man Tim. And you've heard me talk a little bit about him recently because he agreed. He was one of the first interviews I've done. Um, and he's from Canada, so them foreigners are always fascinating. But he mentioned something that kind of stuck, and he said he doesn't like to do resolutions. He likes to do goal setting for the new year because resolutions, once they're broke, it's over. I'm going to quit smoking. Well, then the day after you quit smoking, you start smoking again. And instead of the goal being that by the end of the year, I'm going to cut back on smoking or I'm going to stop smoking by December or something like that. So, um, and yet I can see the point, and I kind of agree. Goals are more long term. They're a little more forgiving because if you don't hit it exactly by this day, you can adjust your dates instead of a resolution. I am resolute it's going to happen. I get it. I get it. And I kind of agree, like I said. It would be terrible of me not to ask if you've set any goals or resolutions for the new year. A lot of the uh, folks, the YouTubers that I watch, are doing inventories and they're going through and clearing things out and just trying to make things new and fresh for the beginning of 2023. I'm kind of doing that. The basement, which I've kind of been referring to as the bunker, um, mostly because it's unfinished. It's full of stuff, but it's unfinished. I mean, the rafters are raw and the floor is has a thin coating of concrete left on it. not very not very much at all. But anyway, I need to clean it out. I need to get a handle on it. I'm working on end of the year tax stuff. I really need to get my tax stuff done sooner this year than last year. We ended up having to file for an extension because my banking facility had changed systems. I love how all these companies say, "Oh well, the system." They blame the system. They either went with a new company or they got new servers or something. Anyway, they changed systems, and I wasn't able to access the uh, bank statements because I get them electronically. I wasn't able to access those bank statements before July the 1st, because July the 1st they started with their new system. I didn't realize that was a problem until I was trying to balance my business account, and it was off, and I couldn't find the mistake. And so I started trying to find the old bank statements, and I didn't have them. So I thought, well, I'll just go and download them, or save them, download them again. And I couldn't do it because they changed the system. So it threw everything into a tailspin. And I ended up having to file an extension. Well, I don't want to do that this year. I want to get it over and done with. But there's a couple of things that we don't get until late. There's certain things that don't have to be sent out before the end of January. And we'll get those really late. And that's the pressure cooker telling me it's reached pressure and it's over and done with. And so even if I have everything else ready, I have to wait on those. It shouldn't be a problem this year, but some of my W-9 forms and 1099s that I get back because of the W-9s, they don't have to be mailed out until, whatever that last business day of January is. So some of those I don't get until late. Some of them I get online, which is fine. But anyway, to go around and about, I need to get that taken care of earlier this year, which means I've got to get the mess down there cleaned up. So I was going back and checking, okay, that you're not supposed to be getting audited. Uh, they can't go. They're not supposed to go back more than 7 years. So what? 7 years? That's 2015. So stuff that's older than 2015, I can, file away, get rid of. And then I see, things that I've created, manuals and trainings and things that are, uh, maybe I had handouts or whatever at this particular training, and I've still got all that stuff there. Or magazines that have great articles that I was going to use to do something with that, yeah, I don't do those things anymore. I've grown past those things. So I don't, uh, I've got all this stuff for sentimental value. I just need to get rid of it. And it's really hard, the sentimental value of some of these things that I worked really hard to put together. And oh, you can scan and put it in the cloud. Well, I can scan and put it in the cloud. It takes a long time to scan some of this stuff. The computers that they were created on are long since gone, and there was no cloud at that time to save your stuff to. The hard drives are long since ruined. But yet I've got all of these computers laying around that don't work. They crapped out some way or shape. Oh, this chair is miserable. But so I've got that to do. I've got to get tidied up after Christmas. I have asked a friend of mine if she would like to do some housekeeping for me, just really basic stuff because there comes a point where you have to accept that there are things that you need to do and there's things that you should pay somebody else to do. And a couple years ago, well, it was before COVID, I had a girl, well, it was a woman, coming in once a week just to dust, mop, vacuum, that kind of stuff. Things that need to be done that I was not getting done because I was busy doing other things. And I paid her a fair amount. I said, here's how much I'm going to pay you. If you get it all done in an hour, then that's your hourly rate. If it takes you 2 hours, then it's half of that is your hourly rate. It's entirely up to you how long you take. And eventually, I want to be able to trust you enough that I don't have to be here. You can clean while I'm out working. Because I could, at that point, I could earn enough at one assignment to cover that person's cleaning fee for the week, plus my fuel and stuff. So it would only take me one job to take care of paying her for doing all this other stuff. And I still had some left. So I've decided I need to do that again. In order to, move forward with things that I need to have done here at the house and some other properties, I can't be here cleaning all the time. You know, I can't I can't just be sitting here. So um, for Holstein House to prosper, to grow, I can't be dusting and running the vacuum every day, but it has to be done. So I'm trying this long way around trying to say I'm trying to reevaluate how I'm spending my time yet again. Part of that means I got to clean up downstairs because I can't be sitting here at my breakfast room table when I have guests. So when I have guests, I have their food set out in the dining room, and they're free to come and go. Well, I can't be recording or you know editing video sitting here at the table in the breakfast room when we have company that way. So I need to. I've just got to be reevaluate the way I spend my time. And I've done this before. I do this all the time. I get out of whack, and I have to pull myself back in. Plus, I'll be doing a Bible study for my church on Wednesday mornings, which is going to have me there at the church on Wednesday mornings, which means I won't be here to dust and sweep and stuff. Um, and church on Sundays, obviously, and getting ready for that. So I'm trying to rebalance things, trying to rebalance things, and I'm sure you've had to do that at some point. Um, we we get ourselves in these pickles, or just maybe you need something different, and it's time to let a few things go. Remodeling, like so, when you remodel, you get rid of some of the old stuff to remodel to put new stuff in. Um, and I have a lot of stuff to get rid of. I really do. I really do. And I can't box it up if I'm having to vacuum and mop and sweep. So, anyway, I said all that just to say that again. But like I said, this is just an impromptu recording this morning, and I probably won't do any editing. I'll just load it up. 2023. I haven't ordered my seeds for the garden yet. Have you? Are you going to garden at all? I a couple of times here at the house since we moved here have had an in-ground garden. One time it did exceptionally well. Then I moved the location and it kind of did okay, but it wasn't that great. And then so I thought, well, I'll do container garden because I like container gardening. It's easier for me to manage. I don't have to be out there, in the garden itself, hoeing and pulling weeds. I've got my containers here and I can take care of those things. But the last couple of years that I container gardened, it didn't go well either. And I think it's placement. I thought the location was just excellent. It got plenty of sun, a lot of evening sun. It not over covered with trees, so the rain could get right to it and everything. But just the stuff didn't do well. I have seen some folks commenting that the soil that they bought at the big box stores was just junk, and uh, I don't have the option of. I mean, I have some composting, but it's not enough to do a garden. It would take me several years to put back that much, and I mean, it's just us. We don't have a big farm. We've got our chickens, and that's about it. So, I'm kind of dependent on purchasing soil for the container garden and the bags. I may go to Greens Feed and Seed this year, and I think they on occasion sell topsoil. So I may get a truckload of that. That might be a good move. And there's some low spots in the yard. I really think we have an old septic that's collapsing because there's a spot in the back of the yard that just keeps getting sinkier and sinkier. And it's I don't think it has to do now. Our yard is all messed up in the back because when they put public sewage through, There used to be a not a perfectly flat alley, but there used to be a fairly flat alley in the back of not only this property but several. And it's on the maps and everything. Well, when they put the public sewage through, they put it up that alley or down the alley, depending on your perspective. And they ruined the layout of the alley. So now it's really slippery. You can't hardly even walk through there. You used to walk it all the time when I was a kid. And so also this backyard is fairly steep. And when they tap the public sewage it to the back instead of to the front. The front is where the street is. And I figured they did that because it seemed easier gravity wise because it just would, you know, go down instead of out, and it would be easier to get the proper pitch and everything. Well, it tore up this backyard. So this backyard in places you can't really walk well, and it's kind of slumped, and where the fence is, or what's left of the fence, the trees have fallen on it. You can't hardly stand up to work on the fence. So, um, but there's just this one spot that keeps sinking a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and I swear I think there's a septic. I don't think they took the septic tank out, and that worries me. That worries me. So I'm afraid we may have to deal with that. But the backyard is. I just don't want to dig it up for a garden as much as I want a garden. So the container garden, I'm probably going to have to. I know I have to move it. I know I have to move it. I'm going to have to move it. I know you don't know what my backyard looks like, but I know I'm going to have to move it probably in front of the coop, of the chicken coop. And it sounds kind of icky, but now my chicken coop is not. My chicken coop is on the edge of the slope of the yard, so their run is on the one side and it goes down the hill a little bit, and the coop is here, and it's okay. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. It wouldn't be because I don't container garden that much. A couple of tomato plants is all I need for me because Mr. Holstein doesn't eat tomatoes. And I would get overwhelmed with 3 or 4 plants, although I would probably plant 3 or 4 because you don't know how well they're going to produce. But I can't plant enough to can, and it doesn't do me home can. It doesn't do me really much good to home can because we don't eat a lot of tomato saucy stuff. Occasional spaghetti, chili, when it's the right time of the year for chili. But we don't really use a lot of tomatoes, so I will buy them at the farm market and can stuff that way. Same thing with green beans. I bought green beans at the farm market last year. Bought a bushel. It was outrageously priced. I couldn't believe how much it was, but I got them because my green beans now I don't mind to have several plants of green beans because we do eat a lot of green beans, but my green beans didn't do well at all last year, and so I ended up going to the farm market to get them. So I then I love kale. I love squash. Squash bugs always get my squash. Even my chickens didn't keep the squash bugs off my squash plants. I can't believe that. After all this talk about chickens eating the bugs off your plants, they didn't eat anything off of mine. Maybe I fed them too much. But the chickens are fair. They're not laying very. They're Some of them haven't laid since November. Some of them haven't laid since oh early December. I'm getting 1 to 2 eggs a day now. Even my leghorns are not laying very well right now. I was kind of low on protein for them, even though their feed has pretty good protein. I always supplemented. There's no bugs to amount to anything for them to eat now that when they're out in the yard. So I had to go pick up some extra mealworm, dried mealworm for them. This is the time of year when you question um, having chickens because they're eating and they're not laying. So there are a lot of people who use light. I don't use light. I just kind of feel like that's not right for them. To each his own, but I just don't feel like you should force them, and that's what the light does. If you have the light set up so that they're getting a constant 14 hours of daylight, so it comes on early in the coop before you let them out, so they're getting exposed to daylight or light. It's not daylight, it's light. Um, and it forces them to lay. I just, I just don't. I don't like that. It's just a personal thing. I don't like to be forced to do stuff. I wouldn't want. I know they're just chickens, but still. I need to decide. But I have a lot of seeds, but they're old, and so even some of them didn't germinate last year. Now my green beans did. My green beans are old. The packaging, they're old beans, but they all came up. They just didn't do any good. But also nothing else did. So I'd hesitate to blame the seed on that. The tomato plants, I don't grow from seed. I may try that this year. I haven't tried that in a long time. I may try starting some tomato plants indoors this year. I just picked up the Farmer's Almanac for 2023. It's probably backwards to you. To start figuring out when I'm going to start what. And, the only thing about the Farmer's Almanac is there's a lot of superstition in here. A lot of superstition in here. Plant by the sign of this moon and the sign of that moon and the sign of something else. That's superstition. Now, it may work, but it's more coincidence, I think, than superstition. And it may just be superstition that science has confirmed. So people do it because it's a sign of the feet. So you plant your root crops by the sign of the feet. When there's another scientific reason for it, it has nothing to do with the sign of the feet. I mean, I read through it, but I don't. I look at it more for the historical weather predictions. Predictions, and I just talked about superstitions. The historical weather patterns and stuff. And I'm not real good about sticking with it. It's like a lot of other things. I get started with it and then I fall off because I think I didn't read last year's after I don't know, July. I didn't even look at it after that. So I've got that. I've got a few seeds. My containers, I've still got all my containers, I think, except one or two. I've got a lot of those I need to get rid of too. I put out flowers just in spring. I like the oh darn it, Robin. Red geraniums are really deep, dark blood red geraniums with this spirea, the sharp thing that sticks up. I picked them up at the farm market and they're not cheap. I should do them myself or try to keep them. I've got my ferns downstairs with a grow light. They're doing okay. I neglected them for a little while, and so some of them have some of the little ferny leaf thingies have fallen off, but they're not dead, so I'm sure they'll come back. But so I've got those. I've kept those because those were outrageously expensive. But the geraniums, I love the dark red geraniums. I really just love those dark red geraniums in this one particular type of pot arrangement that's the guy has at the farm market. And there's this one shade of red that I don't see anybody else with. And so I spend a small fortune on those and then a couple hanging baskets. And I have these plastic pots all over the place from where, I've bought them and I've made my own arrangements and I put them out there. And then, like in the fall, I get the chrysanthemums, and I put them out, and then they die. So I've got all these pots of all this stuff, and I've planted some of those, and they've come back sort of. They don't usually come back very well. So, um, I, but I wanted to change my flower beds to more of like garden beds instead of flower beds. But I didn't get what needed to be done on that for the fall, and it's just I've just got too much going on again. This morning, though, I don't have enough to do this morning. The last weekday of 2023, so I thought I would go to the bank because I got to make the house payment. I've got to make a deposit, and I'm going to go to Lowe's to pick up some new trash cans. Ours are just in. I mean, I know they're trash cans, but the lids are gone a long time ago, and they fall over every time the wind blows, and they're just. I want to get some sturdy, serious trash cans. I'm tired of playing, and I need to go to the post office and pay my property taxes. I've got a whole and it's not the whole podcast, but I did a podcast and I talked about taxes and property tax. Real estate property taxes drive me crazy. My real estate doesn't go anywhere. Okay. My real estate, the land, the house, does not absorb any public utility or product, government product that I don't pay for. I pay for my own electric. I pay for my own water. I pay for my own septic or sewage system. I pay for my own natural gas. I pay for all of that stuff. So the government, state, federal, local, they don't pay any of that for me. I pay it all myself. Our property taxes go towards education. Well, yes, I want an educated populace. I want the children educated, but they're not getting educated, and I don't want to go down that because that's a topic that isn't really appropriate for this channel. But I am paying an enormous amount in property taxes, so I have to go and drop that off. I in theory I could pay them online, but my bank account I have a limit on how much I can spend a day, and I'm not going to put it on a credit card. So I would go over the limit, the daily limit. If I could pay it in multiple days. But honestly, I should have had these paid if I had them paid in by the end of August. I think it's the end of August, July or August. I think it's August. There'd be no additional late fees. Now, the late fees aren't that much. That's why I end up being late with them half the time. But you can pay them late, and you get like, I don't know, 50 cents a month or something tacked on to each one. It may be a percentage of the total. I don't know. But anyway. So anyway, I decided these have to be paid now by the end of December. I don't want them carrying over. Plus, I had to go get license renewals on the trucks yesterday. So I had to pay our personal property taxes. Now, the personal property taxes I'm not happy with, don't get me wrong. But I'm a little easier on those because my vehicles are on the roads, on the public roads, and so you're using the roads, the public highways and public roads. The boat, which we haven't had out in probably 10 years. The boat, well, I mean, it's been at least 10 years because since we moved over here and before then. The boat, goes out on the public waterways. Okay, you got to pay Coast Guard. And our motorcycles, they go out on the roads whenever we ride. I haven't been on my bike for a couple years. So I'm a little easier on that, although we do pay extra taxes for tires to cover some of these road things. And we pay taxes on gasoline to help offset some of the cost of the infrastructure for the roads. And so we're already paying taxes, but I don't know why I'm paying taxes on a 2005 Chevy Colorado that's been paid for several years now. Why? but that's neither here nor there. So, here at Holstein House, we are still planning on rehabilitating the building next door. And I say next door, it's still on this property, but it's the next building over, in order to put a new roof on, get the utilities back on in there, and start utilizing it. Maybe for an additional B&B, this would be a self-hosted, standalone unit, not a room in the house. There's a kitchen over there. There's a living room. There's not technically a bedroom because there's not a closet, built-in closet in what would be the bedroom, but that's easily resolved. And it has a little bathroom, but it has to have a lot of work. And so we're still on track to do that. Uh, I'm still uh, planning on doing that. And we still have we're still, offering and serving the Coal River coffee, fresh ground beans. I grind them here. We still have the Hall's chocolates, and these are for guests who direct book only. You have to go to robinholstein.com, look for Holstein House in the menu, and direct book from there. We don't offer that to Airbnb guests. Airbnb guests, well, you just we want you to direct book. We really want you to direct book. So that's an incentive for people to direct book. Direct booking, you not only do you get those little perks, coffee, see perks, you you also save money by direct booking because Airbnb is not getting a piece of the action. And don't believe, if you are a user of Airbnb and you haven't figured it out yet, don't believe this. You're not paying any fees because as a host, okay, let's say let's say that I want $10 for the room. That's not the rate. That's just the example. Let's say I want $10 a night for the room. Airbnb says, "Oh yes, well we want $5." So because I want $10 for the room and they want $5 of it, I'm going to increase the rate to $15. You're looking at this saying, "Oh, hey, the room's $15 and I'm not paying any fees." Yeah, you're paying it because I raised the rate to cover the fees. Because I'm not going to pay that. I'm not going to lose money on it, not intentionally. Sometimes I do, but not intentionally. But whether you're an Airbnb guest or a direct book guest, you're still going to have a great breakfast. Airbnb guest, well, both of you have access to the Keurig. There's usually fresh breads, usually always fresh breads, uh, fresh fruits. There's a choice of cereals, milk juice, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a good little breakfast for the price, and the room is very comfortable. And we've had a lot of compliments on the room. You will have to deal with Jack and Betty, Bob and Betty. Can't believe I still call him Jack after all this time. Jack was our previous male dog. Bob and Betty, they're good. They're good dogs. But it's a great little place to stay, and you're very welcome. And I encourage you to go to robinholstein.com and go to the menu and look for Holstein House and read some more about it. And then, if you're traveling through or to West Virginia, up or down the turnpike, which is 6477, they run, you know, uh, together there for several miles, and you're looking for a place to stay, think about it. Look up Holstein House. We are listed as Holstein House on Airbnb and of course on the website. And consider staying with us. We are easy access to 6477, just a couple miles off the interstate. And we are in an established residential area, and so it's quiet, and it's just a little piece of home. Might be grandma's home, but it's home. So it's after 8 o'clock here my time on December the 30th, and I need to go now and let the chickens and the ducks out, and I need to get ready to head to the bank and to Lowe's and Oh, the post office. I have to put the church bulletins in the mail so they'll get to people. So there's that. It was just an impromptu little unscripted little production here. I do have a couple of small things that I hope to get put up pretty soon for the new year, and so please hit your like and subscribe so that you'll be notified when new videos are posted. So this is Robin Holstein at Holstein House saying goodbye, and if I don't see you before then, Happy New Year.